Put down your baby and pick up a beer. Dad Jokes is back with a brand new episode. I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon, and you're listening to the podcast of two dads going through the journey of fatherhood while you all listen to us do it. And Brandon, just like in parenting, sometimes life throws you bumps, and we normally record every single week, but it's been a few weeks since we got to record because we've had some issues, I guess I'll say, the last couple of weeks of trying to record.
Yeah, and per usual, most of it falls on my end. But I can't remember what happened the first couple of weeks. But I know last week I was under the weather, but we talked about the topic at hand. We're excited to talk about it, and luckily for you guys listening and me and you, we got a lot of updating to do.
Yeah, we got a lot. I was gonna say we got a lot to catch up on. And even with work's been kind of crazy lately for the both of us, so I feel like normally I know a decent amount of what's going on, but honestly, this might be as illuminating for me as it is our listeners right now, because I don't know too much what's been going on with you guys, and we haven't talked as much as we normally do about dad life, if you will. But before we get into all that, we know the show's called Dad Jokes for a reason, and that's because we always throw some dad jokes at you. Brandon, do you want to lead off today with a dad joke?
I feel pretty good about my dad joke today.
Okay, let's hear it. It's been a few weeks, so.
So, Jerry, why did the laptop catch pneumonia?
Gigabyte. I don't know.
It's a pretty horrible guess. But why did the laptop catch pneumonia? Because someone left the windows open.
Oh. I think I've heard that one before. Not on here, but it is a good one. It's clever. It's a tech joke, which is good. I like it. That's not bad. Mine's pretty decent. I had it written down from like a few weeks ago when we were going to record, and it's still funny. So if it's still funny a few weeks later, I feel good about it.
From a couple weeks ago when we originally planned, I'm gonna save it. It was Christmas themed. I'm gonna save it for later in the year.
Yeah, that makes sense. But Brandon, what's been going on? Like I said, we got a lot to catch up on, so we'll probably have a little back and forth here for a little bit, just catching up on everything that's been going on these last few weeks.
So it's been a lot and not a lot at the same time. Like I feel like Bryce has just made, it seems like small like changes, but then I'm like looking through my notes from when we were originally supposed to record this, and then I added some, and he's changed even in that time frame. About I'd say three to 4 weeks ago, he was going through like a very big like dad phase where I felt like me and him were really connecting. He was following me around everywhere. He was just happy to see me all the time, which is still the case for the most part. But the last week or so, he has been extremely clingy to his mom, and it never was completely bad. Like if she left the room or had to leave the house, he might cry, but you can get him calmed down. There's been occasions in the last couple of days where he wakes up inconsolable in the middle of the night, and that's normally my domain. I have no issue going in there, and it's just kind of been it's one of the areas where I excel in the kind of how we parse out, I guess, raising him. I handle
duties.
Most of the nighttime wake-ups. Yeah, duties. That's a great way to put it. And I cannot console him. I mean, I'm singing loud, waking up the entire neighborhood. That'll get him to calm down a little bit. Nothing. And so he's just screaming for his mom. And recently, and I don't know, so this is another part of the update, but about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we had a family reunion, which kind of coincided with one of our issues from a scheduling standpoint. I think you had something going on one day, and basically my entire family was in town, and so there was something happening like every day towards the end of the week. And the cool thing is his Uncle Jay actually spent the night, or not spent the night, he spent the entire time at our house, hanging out with us and Bryce. So they got to kind of cultivate a relationship that doesn't most time that either one of them has spent with each other. And that was really fun to see. It's fun watching your kid like experience like another family member that you know is going to have a relationship with them, but kind of watching that relationship grow over the span of a couple of days. And I never really seen Jay interact with kids at Bryce's age, and it was cool. It's funny how like our lives change and the things that you find entertaining. I could have sat on the couch all day watching my brother and my son like just play with each other, interact, because it just you picking up on little quirky or little funny things that they're doing with each other, things that is making each of them laugh. It's just something that you kind of you get in a position that you and I are in, and I'm gonna put him on blast a little bit, Jay. You know him well. He's a party animal. You watch him like, and sometimes I see him and I might see a different version of my life playing out potentially.
Now you're seeing the domesticated version of Jay.
He's a single guy living in Dallas, goes out all the time and documents his life via social media. But then I literally wouldn't trade any part of my life for like the life that he lives, even though it looks fun sometimes. And it just got like watching him, it kind of gets you a little introspective. A little bit like kind of watching that and how fun I thought that was. The other thing, or a lot of different things. Family reunion was fun. Bryce did amazing. Like he saw a whole bunch. I mean, it was like 115 people.
Jeez.
In this pavilion. And this was just my mom's kids, their kids. It was 4 generations there, but it was from my grandmother down. It wasn't like. It wasn't anything else. My mom's mom had 8 kids, and they all had kids, and their kids had kids, yada, yada, yada. But
that's how it works.
Funny to kind of see yeah, it is. It's funny to see the spread. Bryce is a part of the 3rd generation, but he has cousins that are technically the generation after him that are old enough to potentially be his parent. So it's kind of just crazy how that all works. But that's half of my update. Let's go to what you've been up to for the last couple of weeks, and then we can kind of go back and forth like you mentioned before.
Yeah, no, it's funny, Brandon. Even just listening to you talk is like you see certain things, and like your kids, like you were talking about, Bryce being from kind of a daddy's boy, and then all of a sudden he's crying out for mom. It's funny you said that because Peyton lately, I've noticed, one, I don't know if Bryce is like this, but in the last few weeks, Peyton, all of a sudden, her feelings can be hurt very easily. Not like scared or hurt, but like legitimately her feelings are hurt. Like the other day she was pouring water on herself, and I was like, no. And she got upset because I was saying no to her. And then like today, she was like messing with some of Macy's like breast pump stuff. And Macy's like, oh, don't do that. And then she gets like the saddest look on her face. But what's funny is, no, not funny, but like ironic is Peyton she loves to laugh with me. And I think she associates dad with like fun and goofy, and she just gets the biggest grin on her face. Like, we play like hide and seek and all these games. But when she gets like upset, like genuinely upset like that, she tends to want to go to mom. So that's, and I used to be kind of like you. Like I felt like I was good at consoling her and stuff. But just recently she started, when she gets like her feelings hurt, she reaches for mom first. So we'll see if that continues. But it's just funny we were talking about that. And I was like, yeah. Not great usually, because
it kind of sucks, man.
It does.
We don't necessarily talk about how we feel all the time, but
right.
Like Bryce, I was salty at Bryce last night.
Well, it's one thing like if they like want to go to mom, right? Like if they're like, oh, but then like you swoop in, they're cool because you swoop in. But when you swoop in and like they're like, nah, you're not it. I want mom still. That's what hurts, right? Because that's when you're like, okay, I get that maybe mom was choice 1, but like I should be choice like 1B, not like not even on the list. So that's the part that hurts.
I'm making it worse.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes. Like they're almost like they cry louder when you grab them. You're like, all right, well, that was fun. So yeah, that's kind of that was just tonight she was doing that. So it's funny you said that because I was like, okay, but yeah, we had a lot happen kind of since the last time we talked. One thing that was kind of cool is I had one of my best friends come in from Texas, someone you're friends with as well, and he got to spend some time here, which was cool because he got to meet Avery, and then he got to spend some time with Peyton, and then his kids came up later. Like he came by himself, and then his wife and his kids came up later. And one of the big things that happened is we all went to one of our other friends' house, and there was just a ton of kids, right? And the funny part too, Brent, they were all boys. Everyone was a boy other than Peyton and Avery. So
Wow.
yeah, and and our buddy's got this big place that he just had built, and then it's huge, and so it's just funny, and obviously like some of the gender stuff is like overdone, right? But I'll tell you, watching the boys versus even it was crazy. Those boys were like throwing stuff and chucking dirt at the fence and climbing on everything and, just like fearless with all stuff. And Peyton's just like on this little swing thing, just watching it all. And she was having a blast, but it was just funny because she's like, yeah, you guys are crazy. She looked like at them like they were crazy, but that was a lot of fun. Getting all the guys together, having all the kids together. They were playing with sprinklers and the play set. And I mean, it was chaos, but it was a good chaos. The probably the best moment to describe how it was is at the end, everyone's kind of getting their kids together. Like, okay, we're going to leave, right? Because kids are getting tired and stuff. And Macy's like, let's get a picture of all the kids. And everyone's like, yeah, it's a good idea. And what ended up happening is one family left because their kids were being crazy. Two of the boys grabbed a cell phone and started watching a movie. Then we're trying to get everyone on the couch together. Macy's trying to get the baby on the one. One of our other friends has a newborn as well. She's trying to put the baby in. As she's trying to put the baby in the picture, the baby starts projectile vomiting onto the sofa. It was just, I mean, it was literally like,
this is a
it's a really expensive couch.
It cost some
Correct.
bread. They probably cared about
it. Was literally, I have it on camera. It's hilarious, but it was just funny because it was like, yeah, this picture's not happening. It's actually probably going to be the best picture ever because it just shows like parent life. But you couldn't have like had more things happen to not make this picture happen. But it was a good time. So that was a lot of fun. And I'm going to segue really quickly, Brandon, into piece of baby gear because it kind of goes with one of the stories we were talking about. So one of the nights when my buddy from Texas was up, came over before his wife and kids were here. He came over. We were all hanging out. We had a few friends over. And it ended up being me, him, and one of our other friends late at night after the kids were to sleep and everything, right? And we were just kind of hanging out. And then all of a sudden we decided like we were 16 again, or not even 16, like we were like 12 again. We're in the basement in my house and there's kid stuff everywhere, right? You've been in my basement, Brandon. I got, it's designed for kids. It's what I love about my basement, but it's a kid's domain. And we all of a sudden had the little kids hoop and we're like, okay, let's play pig, right? So we start playing. I kid you not, Brandon, by the end of the night, we played 11 different sports games with kids stuff. We were playing football, like we were thrown into a little kid's shopping cart. We were playing bowling with like little kids blocks. We were playing soccer. I mean, you name it. We were playing handball. We did 11 different games. So basically my baby gear is for dads. Like you can use your baby gear for some fun games. Cause we did, we did bocce ball. I mean, we thought of every sport you could think of using only kids toys. And I'll tell you what, it was hilarious. It was fun. We had a few cocktails and we're playing, crazy games trying to relive glory days of athletics with, tiny little Nerf balls and stuff. So that was a good time.
It's probably a good thing that I missed that because I probably would have like mess my knee up or something like that trying to keep up with you guys.
Well, I'm surprised we didn't break anything because the soccer at one point we were shooting into like the nugget couch against the wall and we were probably standing, 7 feet from each other. And it started off like, okay, we're going to shoot decently lightly to like we were like full out. Yeah, kicking as hard as you could where if you stopped it hurt. It hurt pretty bad. So it got to the point where like some of us would shoot and be like, okay, that was a little hard. But it was fun.
Yeah,
it was a good time.
A hole in the drywall.
Yeah, exactly.
As you got older and kept playing with those toys, and you like have sleepovers and stuff like that as a kid, that's really what would happen. You're playing.
Oh, for sure.
Like football in the basement, and somebody's head goes through the wall.
Well, it turns into hiding the damage you did. That's the game. It turns into how can we keep this from our parents. But yeah, so that's about half of my stuff, Brandon. I'll let you keep going on with what was going on with you guys. But that was, like I said, baby gear, not just for babies.
Well, I'll actually go into a little bit of the baby gear because I have two pieces. One, I mentioned Bryce's Uncle Jay. So Kelsey's parents bought Bryce like a balance bike by Retrospec. It's a pretty fun bike for like toddlers, and he has gotten like, it's funny how, especially like the age our kids are, they might get something for like their first birthday and kind of toy around with it a little bit, and then they just hit a stretch where they like this bike Bryce rides it all day every day. We took it with him at the family reunion. He was on it the entire time he was there, but he's getting a little bit like, he can still ride it and it's comfortable, but he's getting a little bit big for it. So the next step up is actually, so this bike balances on its own. The next step up is a non-pedal balance bike, but it has normal bike wheels on it. So the kid has to do their own balancing. And so Jay kind of heard us talking about it, and Bryce has a second birthday coming up at the end of the month, and so he ordered it, and it came in the mail. And Bryce loves this thing. At first, I was a little scared because,
right.
I mean, if he falls, he's feeling it. Like it's not far to go, but he can fall off that thing. He's been maneuvering around the house, maneuvering around the messes that he makes with all the other toys. So that's been something that's been really fun to see. And surprisingly enough, like these bikes run anywhere from like $70 to $100 if you're looking at them online. I saw one of these. We were in TJ Maxx recently, and I saw one there. So I would venture. TJ Maxx actually has some really great toys, like the little people, like the trucks and stuff like that. Were like $9 or $10. Where normally I think we're paying close to like 15 to 20, depending on what you're getting. So TJ Maxx, Marshalls is a good stop to go to check out the baby and toddler toys, because they definitely had a lot of name brand stuff there. So that was cool. A couple other things, Bryce. Obviously, you've seen soccer because we're there with Peyton every week. That's been fun. He's kind of getting better. This is how I put Bryce's soccer experience. Whatever we did last week, he's great at this week. Like,
he's a week behind.
Last week they were stacking like little cones on top of each other, like half cones. This week they were trying to put a ball on top of like full cones. This week he was grabbing the half cones and stacking them all over the field where nobody was asking him to do that. And it seems like he kind of gets the concept the week after, which is kind of funny. But he's getting better, and honestly, it's just fun to just watch him run around. I'm not really taking it too seriously. That's cool. His swimming lessons have ended. I got in the pool with him a couple times, which was fun. It's also interesting to see how he treated mom versus dad differently when he was in the pool. I think he kicked a little bit better for me while he was in the pool, but he definitely listened to his mom more. He was less distracted when she was in the pool with him. And he absolutely has a crush on his teacher. It's the first time I've ever seen him have a crush. I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast before, but that kid is like, he's smitten with his teacher. He just watches her the entire time and just smiling at her. So that's something we gotta watch out for. Bryce has a thing for girls. Like he acts different and tries to. You always know when he's trying to impress somebody when he first meets them, because he starts marching without being prompted to. That's like his way of showing off, which is funny. A couple other quick hits and I'm done. We bought him a Tony.
There you go. Welcome to the club.
And
does he love it?
Should have bought it earlier. He loves it.
Yeah.
So he's got Kelsey saw it on like a Black Friday deal. We finally came around to opening it. So got a pretty good deal. He has the Cars, Elmo, Lion King, Toy Story, and then like a little dog.
Is there certain ones you hate?
Actually, no, not yet.
Oh, you're lucky. We got a couple. We got a couple. I will hide those things. Most of them aren't that bad. There's a couple.
Cars is getting there, but it's like regular music. But he just like, he really is into it, so he plays it all the time. The problem though is, he takes it off and puts it back on. And takes it off and puts it back on.
Well, and if they switch it too, then he starts at the beginning, which is what Peyton does all the time. So put one on, put the other one on, then put the other one back on, and so it's like you heard half the song and now you started half the song again. And I'm like, girl, just leave it on, or yeah.
Yeah, they don't get that concept. They just like.
Does he try other toys on it? Like to put like toys that aren't.
I haven't seen him do that yet.
Peyton does. That's hilarious.
We got him segregated a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm sure he's done it. I just haven't been paying attention to it.
It's funny when they like
And
do it
then
and they look at it. They're like, "Does this work?" No, okay, don't work.
he's funny with that thing, and it will be annoying. We haven't gotten to that point.
It's early,
only been probably like a week and a half. He absolutely understands please and thank you now, which is fun. But he thinks that if he says please, that he'll just get whatever he's asking.
He'll get whatever he
at any
wants,
given time. And it's got to be the most annoying thing ever, because he just walking around asking something he shouldn't. Like, he'll look at a knife and be like, peace, peace, peace.
And you're like nah,
no, bro, you can't have it. And he's just saying that thing. And that brings me to kind of like, you mentioned Peyton is a little salty when you say no. He's absolutely, you're starting to see the signs of the quote unquote terrible twos coming, where he shows frustration. He starts hitting himself. He'll run at like the couch and try to hit the couch. He's getting to the point where he's hitting mom, and he tried to take a swipe at me a couple times. He bit me yesterday, actually.
Oh,
I didn't write
gosh.
that in my notes. I almost threw him across the room because it was an unexpected bite. Like, he got frustrated. It wasn't like he just was playing. Like, he got mad.
Right, like he actually was mad.
Shoulder.
Yeah, Peyton did one time
goodness.
joking, and I got pissed. Like when she was little, and she thought it was funny. Like she wasn't being mean, but yeah, that's probably the most mad I ever was at her. I was like, "Did you just bite
It
me?"
is nothing. I didn't realize that I could get that mad at him.
Right,
Like,
because it hits you
I had
so
to put him down
quick.
for a second.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie. I went to bite him back because his face was at my shoulder. My face was at his shoulder. He started biting me. I'm like, okay, bro.
My sister did that with her kid. He had a biting problem, so she finally bit him back. She's like, it didn't work. That's what she told me.
I'm
She
not
said it
gonna
didn't
say
work.
that I wouldn't do that in the future. It was instinct. Like,
Well,
I
yeah,
had to
you
catch
get
myself.
bit.
Like, what is this
I
dude
mean,
doing?
yeah, biting's different. It's different. Like, I don't know. It's just different.
Yeah. Last couple things. My god sister. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if we brought this up on the podcast. I had a god sister who unfortunately passed away last year, but she had twins who at the time were 5 years old. So they've been spending the summer up here with their grandmother. They're from Vegas, and they spent 2 weeks at my parents' house. So Bryce daily was spending time with kids who were a couple years older than him. He's never been to daycare or anything like that. And by all accounts, and from what I saw, he did great. It was funny. The next day, they were there one day, and like the after the first day they were there, I dropped them off, and they were still asleep, and he was calling their name and getting upset when they like he couldn't go wake them up. And other than that, we're just getting ready for his second birthday. It's crazy that we're at this point already, but
No kidding.
He's going to be 2 on August 30th.
Yeah, that's crazy, Brandon. It's nothing like kids to age you, right?
We're about 25 minutes in and still on our update.
I know. And I'm gonna get some quick hitters because like I said, a lot happened. One thing, we went out on the boat with my parents, and I knew this was gonna happen, but it is all confirmed. Peyton cannot stand life jackets and screamed bloody murder the entire time we had her in her life jacket. So that was fun. But then we did put her in the little car, the little floaty car we talked about in a previous episode, and she loved life again. So, but that was a lot. Actually, Avery did pretty good.
So that's great.
Yep, and then Avery did pretty good, but that was fun. It was kind of funny when we got back. It was like torrentially downpouring, so we had to like carry. We had a bunch of kids in the boat, like my nieces and nephews and stuff were carrying kids, and it's just pouring on us. And my little nephew Braden's like following me, and like the walk to the house is like for a normal adult 30 seconds, and this kid could not be walking slower. And I'm like, bro, and I got stuff in my hands. I can't carry him. I want to just carry him. But I'm like, let's go. But I can't just leave him. You know what I mean? I'm like, let's go. It was so funny.
And this is the middle of the downpour.
Yeah. And it's downpouring. He just like, it's raining hard. I'm like, yeah, let's not stand out here. He's like play by playing how like bad the rain is as he's not moving. Oh my gosh. It was funny. So, but yeah, so that we did the boat, which was, like I said, mostly good. Avery went out to eat for the first time. We hadn't taken her out to eat. And oddly enough, we went to the exact same place we went to with Peyton the first time she went out to eat, which was Sagebrush, one of our favorite Mexican restaurants. And she did pretty good. Got a little fussy at one point, but mostly did good. So that was kind of cool, taking her out for the first time.
They didn't put her in a high chair, did they?
No, we've had a booth, and we just put her, yeah, no. I remember that story, yeah. Nope, so she did pretty good. Speaking of Avery, she's still been sleeping fairly well. She's just entered another leap, and you can tell she's had the last couple nights she's not slept as well as normal. She's still angry Avery when she's awake. She tends to be cranky, but she's definitely starting to have more facial expressions and have more character to how she looks. Also, Macy absolutely loves putting her hair in a mohawk when she gets out of the bath. So she typically has like this little like mohawk thing because which is cute. But she definitely is she's starting to be really really cute, which is working to her advantage. But she still tends to be angry when awake. But she's also smiling now, sticking her tongue out a lot, and gives you some crazy looks, which is always fun. So that's pretty good there. You spoke about your brother being in town. My brother was in town for a very, very brief moment from Seattle, and he stopped by soccer, which was kind of cool. So he got to see Peyton, and he met Avery for the first time. And
he
Peyton,
met Bryce for the first time too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and
ponytail Bryce.
Peyton was a little, which is funny because Peyton's been around him before and never had issues, but I think maybe she's a little older now. She was a little hesitant, and also my brother tends to. People say we look alike, other than I have a bigger beard. I don't know if that freaked her out at all. So, but she was a little hesitant towards him. Thanks. He's a year and a half younger than me, for the record. But yes. So Peyton is, and I know we've talked a little bit about this, Brandon, but like literally all she does all day long is, what's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? Just constantly. And it's kind of cute. But she does it like literally yesterday. Me and Macy were cracking up because I like got her out of the bath and I'm like drying her, and she legitimately said, "What's that?" like 54 times in like 10 seconds. Like I couldn't even like answer anything. She just kept saying it, and I was like, "What, kid? Like you're not even actually trying to pay attention." Well, the funny part is though, she's really good at pointing things out. Like she knows, like if we have like stuffed animals, she knows the characters. She knows like Mickey Mouse characters. Like she's really good at like pointing things out, but she likes to ask what's that to things she knows. She'll point at like her sister all the time. What's that? That's your sister. Mm-hmm. You know that. Or she'll point at me. What's that? That's dad. Or Bluey and stuff like that that she knows. So she just sometimes likes to point at things and say it, but she is learning a lot right now, which is cool too. Like honestly, she knows so much. It like shocks me all the time. Like to tell her to do things, or like to point things out, or animal sounds. She knows a bunch more now, which her doing a cat sound is the cutest thing in the world because she gets so quiet when she does a cat. No other sound, but just a cat. She goes, meow, like the quietest thing ever. It's cute, but she's doing good. And then a couple other things, Brandon. We went to Muskegon just a couple days ago for a big get together with Macy's family. And and I think I've said this before on here. Avery is horrible in the car. Like that kid will scream bloody murder 24/7 in the car. Like does not stop. And I'm thinking a 2.5 hour ride. She's got to be. If it was 2.5 hours there and 2.5 hours home, so 5 hours total, she was crying for 4 hours plus, like loud. Oh. Yeah, just
that was stress Kelsey.
Yeah, I just terrible. And
it's
then
easy for me to ignore kids crying in the car. It does not bother me.
No. And the thing is, it only bothers me. Like one, it bothers me more with her than it did Peyton for whatever reason. But like, it won't bother me if I was in a car with like your kid. But if it's my kid and like I'm driving, it drives me nuts. And honestly, with her, I think it drives me nuts.
I've been in a car with my kid crying, and it does not bother me that it's my kid.
Oh, I believe you. I think. Well, the thing though is like. With her, it's every time. So, like, at some point, I'm just like, hey, can we just have one experience that's not terrible in the car? So, but the trip in general, once we got there, was actually really cool. There was a ton of kids. Peyton did great with them. She was coloring with them, making bracelets. This one little girl who was like 5 or 6 kept giving her hugs, and Peyton was like all about it. And so it was really cool to see her with these other kids because she was having a blast. So that was fun. And then lastly, yesterday was my birthday, so that was kind of cool because we got to spend some time with the kids. And
happy birthday, Gerald!
Thank you. And then we did some takeout and stuff, but it's cool. You know, it's funny. Like you think like 10 years ago or 5 years ago, Brandon, what you'd want to do on your birthday, and then like, you know, now you just want to hang out with the family and stay in or maybe go somewhere with more family. It's just how life changes, like you said. But it was a good birthday. The kids definitely spoiled me, like always. So that was fun. Like I said, we've been up to a lot. Also, last point, I know I said this before, but last point is I'm pretty sure I've never seen a kid more obsessed with apples in my entire life. Peyton discovered apples a few weeks ago, and now we can't keep them out or anywhere in sight because she will just point at them and she'll eat the whole thing. She'll eat the core. Brandon, this kid is insane. Wow. She ate 3 apples in one day, and she wanted more, and so we literally have to hide them from her now.
Keeps the doctor away. What does 3 apples do?
I don't know. That kid eats apples like I've never seen, which I'm sure they're good for you, but I don't know how many apples are too many. This kid eats so many. She's obsessed with them. It's crazy.
She's whole apples.
Well, we take them away now, but yeah, she will the whole apple. She walks around with it and just eats it.
That's pretty good.
She freaking loves these things, man. And like you said, it's to the point where if they ask and they think they're being nice about it, she thinks she can just get it, and you're like, no, and then she gets so mad. So it is crazy. But one thing that'll lead into kind of the topic we're talking about today. So we're going to talk about sign language, right? And sign language in specifically small children, and why you might want to do it. What are the pros to it? Are there any cons to it? What people say about it? And this is something that we've done in the house, but that's the thing is so, and I'll kind of go into it, but one of the things she signs is more. She does more. Well, she'll point at apples and do the more symbol all the time. And so you're you're using it right, but I'm still saying no. But that's hard because she's doing what, using things correctly, but you're also telling her no. So, but yeah, let's get into today's topic a little bit, Brandon. Sign language and in small children, and kind of to lead off this is something that I read a decent amount about before Peyton was even born, and it was weird because I didn't know that was a thing, right? And then I kept reading about lots of people like to sign with their kids, and we did it with Peyton when she was little, a decent amount. And then we kind of got away from it, and then we've really gotten back into it in the last few months. And then kind of just our story really quickly is Peyton has struggled a little bit with some verbal communication, so that's kind of why we got into more of the signing. And she's done really well. She like I said, signs more all the time. She's done please. She does thank you. She does all done. And so we've had some good experience with that, and she tends to gravitate towards that type of language. And I feel like that actually, when we started signing more, helped with some of the tantrums a little bit too. I feel like she feels like she can communicate better. So that's kind of been our experience with sign language before I go into the whys and stuff. But what has your guys' experience been with Bryce, if any?
So it's something that it's kind of whatever the saying is about the best laid plans. We'd done the research beforehand, similar to you, and I was talking to Kelsey about the topic. We feel like we implemented it a little bit later than you're supposed to, and we wish we would have started earlier and kind of stuck with it. He does more really well. That's the one thing that he knows how to do more than anything else. Yep, and Jerry's doing the sign, which is basically bringing your fingertips together, your 4 fingertips, not including your pinky, I think is what it technically is, bringing together kind of the triangle. But that is all he knows from a sign language perspective. And so, whenever the next kid comes around, we're absolutely going to start that early, or maybe we'll plan to start that early, and it'll be the same way as it happened with him. But like you mentioned, there are a bunch of benefits to using it, and you hit on kind of, in my opinion, one of the major ones is from a communication standpoint. It allows your child kind of a different avenue to communicate, which will absolutely help with tantrums.
Yeah, so the biggest benefits, why you say, well, why would I do this, is they say that teaching your kids sign language can help increase their vocabulary. It can help eliminate tantrums. It can increase social skills. It can help their comprehension of language. And honestly, they say it can help improve their IQ. That's kind of the benefits that are listed on a number of different sources. It's funny because and I thought this, and if you read it, like a lot, some people think that if you teach sign language, will that delay speech? Because okay, if I'm teaching sign language, they're going to communicate that way instead of talking. Well, it's actually been found to do the exact opposite. It can help with speech delays, but it also can help kids speak more who are even on track, don't have issues. So it's not a prohibitant to speaking just because you use sign language. So there's lots of positive things with it, and that's why I said like we did it, and then we kind of got away and we got back to it, and I do feel like it helps, and it's not like it's something that you can kind of have to. You almost have to do it consistently, otherwise the kid's not going to just pick up on it. You have to be repetitive, and we'll kind of go into how to teach it in a minute. But those are the benefits. Brandon, did you have any other benefits that you read about, or maybe any possible cons too that you read about?
I didn't actually run across too many cons. One thing, kind of the next thing on my notes would be like when's the best time to introduce it. And I guess to speak to what you meant with or what you said with consistency, I think that's why more worked, is because that was the easiest thing to do when he was eating, and if he was like making a sound, or we knew that he wanted more, we would force that issue, and that's something that was easy to do every single time. But you can find ways in your life or in your kids' lives to introduce more words to them, which we'll get into in a little bit. But ideally, you want to start, based on my research, between 6 and 8 months, but it's never too early to begin. Babies at that age are becoming a little bit more aware of their surroundings, starting to understand like the gestures and what they actually mean. We actually started with Bryce right around 5 months, so a little bit earlier than that. It's funny how early on there were so many things that we did. Like he had like little, from the minute he was eating solids, he had like little forks and spoons that he was using, and we would do the sign language. And then you kind of, as life happens, sometimes you take the easy way out, and so we might start feeding him here and there, or he was. It almost feels like, and this isn't a topic, but he was better at using like a fork and a spoon when he first started eating, even as opposed to a few months ago. Even that's gotten better in the last little bit because we put emphasis on it. But some other best practices, I know Jerry mentioned it already, but staying consistent, and then starting off choosing a few basic signs. So what I read, signs like milk, eat, more, which we mentioned, all done. Actually, all done is something that he dabbled with, I'll say as well. But you make them consistent, put them, like, force it in your daily interactions. You pair them with spoken words, and they'll start to associate what that meaning is.
Yeah, and the key too, if you're teaching, so like how do you teach your kids sign language? Well, one, you got to know them, so you look up the proper signs, and you
That's
got
a
to
good
make
point.
sure mom and dad like do the same thing. Because if you're signing something, it sounds silly, but if you're signing something differently than mom is or that grandparents are, that's why using actual sign language is so key. Because you want to, and then even if they have teachers that do it or other kids that do it, they understand what it is. And then, like you said, consistency, but it's consistency without getting upset if they're not getting it or using it incorrectly. So that's one thing that is key. Like if you're saying, like want them to say please before they get something, you don't withhold the item if they don't say please. You just do it, or if you're saying thank you, like I do thank you after everything with Peyton, and she doesn't always do it back and stuff, but like I don't get like upset because then it will deter them away from doing that. So you want to be consistent with how you use your signs, but then like I said, almost don't make it like a reward or a punishment. Just do the right sign at the right moment, and don't change like how you do it. Like don't like withhold the food or withhold the toy, or tell them they're wrong if they're using it necessarily the incorrect way. Just keep doing it the right way, and eventually they typically will pick up on it. And like you mentioned, Brandon, some of the popular ones are more, thank you, please, milk, drink, hungry, things that you basically want your kid to be able to tell you are important. And in a minute I'll go into like some resources that can help you too. But anything to add on that, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is we talk about something like this, and it may seem fairly daunting because you're talking about, hey, I mean, you might not be familiar with sign language yourself, so it's taking some research on your end. But it really can be seamlessly integrated into your daily routine. And then, I mean, if you're learning even 4, 5, 6 words, when it comes to a child who doesn't know how to communicate, those little bits, and Jerry already hit on the benefits, but I mean, the overwhelming benefit that you see in the research is that it's reducing frustration and tantrums. When they can communicate their needs effectively, they feel more understood. They're less likely to get upset. So I would say, and this is something that even at the stage that Bryce is in right now, we can introduce this to him. With the words that are kind of the basic everyday things that he may be able to pronounce, but also maybe other words and gestures that we want to make a part of our daily routine. So don't be afraid of it. It's not as hard as it may seem like it is.
Yeah, and just recently, Macy was asking Peyton to do something, or like Peyton wanted something, like she pointed at something, and Macy said, "Oh, can you say please?" And then Peyton did the please sign, and it was just, it was really cool because, like I said, we've had a little bit of struggles. Yeah, we've had a little bit of struggles with her actual speech, but like for her to do that, like the communication, it I don't know, it felt good as a parent. But also, like I said, even just doing more signing lately, I feel like her speech has come a long way. Like she's starting to say more. Like she said, "Here you go," and handed me something the last few days. She's been saying, just saying more things that like, she knew, but she wasn't saying. So it's like I said, there are the benefits there, and it's a cool way to communicate with your kid, and they know what you're saying. So the other thing too is be aware of this. Is something I noticed, but sometimes if a kid does learn a little bit of sign language, it can become a coping thing. So like I know Peyton will do this, but like when she gets upset, sometimes she'll sign more because she's trying to say something, but she doesn't know how to communicate. She doesn't know the proper sign sometimes, so she just keeps doing it over and over again. That's pretty normal. If you're like maybe not understanding what she wants, or like maybe she's saying more, but I don't know what she wants more of, she'll just continue to do it. That's again, you can't get frustrated with that because they're just trying to use it as they're trying to communicate, and that's one form of how they know how to communicate.
Bryce absolutely has done that.
Yeah, and like I said, it's very common. And if you're looking for resources, because again, you don't know a lot about it, one, there's tons of books out there. You can literally go on Amazon and find a million different sign language books. There's even a babysignlanguage.com, which has a number of different resources right on there, different books, different websites, different places you can go. I know I've watched YouTube videos before. I've literally looked up how to sign whatever, and then you can watch like a 10-second YouTube video, because sometimes you look at the diagrams and it's like, what does that mean? Like the other night I wanted to learn how to say go to sleep, and I was like, there's like diagrams, and you basically have to like run your hand over your face and then like close your eyes, but like it looked funny in the diagram, so I watched a YouTube video and I was like, oh, okay. But there's tons of those out there, so it's not hard to find the common signs. So the key is don't overwhelm yourself with 500 different signs. Start with a few and then add a few in there, especially if you think like, okay, this would be beneficial if I'm trying to get them to tell me that they're hungry, right? So learn hungry, or I want to tell them that they're tired. How do they tell me they're tired? Those types of things. So lots of resources out there. Lots of different books have the signs in there. Like I said, I know we're big fans of it. And again, before Peyton was born, I didn't think we would do it. I didn't really see the point. And now, again, with her being less than 2 years old, I definitely am like, okay, I wish I would have done even more of it early, like kind of like you said, because I'm starting to see the benefits now. And if we would have probably done more earlier, I'd probably even see more.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what I'm going to do, because Bryce has been favoring his mom anyway, him and I are going to have our own secret sign language.
Exactly.
Where only him and I know. We just be talking junk behind Kelsey's
just talking
back.
Junk. I like
keep it going as he gets older.
I like it. It is cool, though. It's also a good skill set to have in life. We work with someone who can sign, and actually one of my sisters can sign, and it's a cool skill set just to have. Even if you don't know all of it, to be able to do some of it is not a bad thing either. So I think it's a good place to kind of wrap up the topic there, Brandon. But again, if you maybe never thought about it before, watch a couple videos on it, do a couple Google searches, and look it up, because it pretty much is one of those things where lots of benefits, very, very few, if any, cons. Maybe you don't need it. But if you're thinking of, hey, that's not a bad idea, it's worth looking into for sure. But Brandon, I think it's time for my dad joke if you're ready.
I'm waiting with bated breath.
All right, Brandon.
Actually, hold on a second. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I should have done this. I want to give a shout out. I talked to you about this outside of the podcast. I want to give a shout out to my cousin who saw at the family reunion, Eric. He's expecting. They don't know what's going to happen yet, but him and his wife are expecting. And he started listening to our podcast once he found out. And him and his wife have been listening together. He said he thinks I'm corny. My jokes aren't great, but his wife really enjoys my jokes. So both of our jokes, actually, I was specifically mentioned. But I want to give him a shout out because they started listening to some older episodes, some new episodes, and then he was like, I go all the way back to the beginning and really get into it. So the last I talked to him, they're at episode 22.
There you go.
So
yeah, huge shout out.
It's fun to see that.
Well, it's funny you said that because when we were in Muskegon, I was around some of Macy's cousins that I don't see like at all, right? I've seen them only a few times in our life because they're far away. And one of her cousins asked me, she says, hey, you still do that podcast? I said, yeah. She goes, oh, I haven't listened in forever, but I didn't know she ever listened to an episode. And she was telling me she listened to quite a few. She's got a couple kids. And then someone else was like, oh yeah, I'm way behind, but I got to catch up. And there was like 3 or 4 people that I didn't even know listened saying something. So it is kind of cool hearing. And then, like I said, anyone out there that maybe this is newer to them or they haven't, what's cool is you can go back and start where we were. So you're kind of at the same place that we were. Because we were going through that when we recorded. So that's the kind of cool thing. We record stuff as it's happening to us. So, or if some topics jumping out to you, you can jump around, but, you definitely don't have to start at the beginning or necessarily in the middle. You can kind of go where you want to and jump on in because we've been doing it now for 2 years.
It sparks fun conversation too. Like him and I, me, him, Kelsey and his wife sat and talked for like an hour and a half about baby stuff and like his feelings. And it's funny remembering kind of where you were,
right,
in the stage that he's at right now. So that was fun.
Well, it's definitely it's cool too, Brandon. Though because like now with Avery and I having another kid, it's almost like I do it to myself. I'm like I got to go back and listen to that episode. I can't remember what the heck I was doing this last time. So it is cool. It is definitely cool. So even if you got multiple kids, another reason to go back. But yeah, dad joke. Are you ready for it, Brandon?
Waiting still with bated breath.
What do you call a group of fat babies?
Ooh, a group of fat babies. I don't know what.
Heavy infantry.
That's pretty good.
It also is like a visual. I don't know if you have like a visual.
Dad jokes in general. I am the target. I'm the target audience for dad jokes. Every one of them make me laugh.
Well, I've been starting to say some dad jokes that like aren't even like, you know what I mean? Like you're just saying things that are like kind of dad joke-ish. So that's how you know we're starting to get more wisdom in our dad, or what do you want to call it? More daddish.
Yeah, you are getting pretty old. You just had a birthday.
Yeah. Again, half a year older than you. But yeah, I guess I am. I probably am getting pretty old. I'm definitely older than when we started this thing. Speaking of which, if you haven't already liked all of our stuff on social media, please do. Write a review. Tell your friends about us. Again, that's the biggest compliment you can give us. Like I said, go back and listen to some episodes. Don't judge us on our first 5 or 6 episodes because our quality is definitely different. So, but definitely, like I said, write a review. Tell us what you think. Ask any questions you have. We love hearing from each and every single one of you. But until next time, which hopefully won't be a few weeks, but just next week, until next time, I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon, and you've been listening to Dad Jokes.